You open your eyes to nothing. Not a void, not emptiness, something quieter than that. It is the stillness before stillness, the pause before breath, the universe holding itself in a single, infinite heartbeat. There are no stars yet, no atoms, no time to count. Only the pure potential of existence, folded and waiting. You float here, or perhaps you are what here means. There is no space to separate you from anything else, because there is nothing else. And yet the silence is not dead. It is alive with waiting. It hums, softly, almost imperceptibly, like a held note that never begins and never ends. This is the quantum sea before creation, a field without form, a whisper beneath nothingness. Every point within it carries the same infinite weight of possibility. Physicists would call it a vacuum, but that word feels too thin, too quiet for what this truly is. It is not absence. It is presence before it chooses its shape. You begin to sense the faintest ripples through this invisible ocean. They are not waves in water, but fluctuations of energy, the trembling fabric of the quantum field itself. In one moment, they appear. In the next, they vanish. Tiny, ephemeral births and dissolutions, all happening in a place without direction or edge. You drift among these ghostly flickers, dot everywhere. You cannot see them, but you can feel them as motion in the marrow of stillness. Every fluctuation is like the universe dreaming of itself, a thought not yet formed into light or matter, a shimmer that says, I could be. Somewhere deep within this sea, an equation hums, not written, not spoken, but simply true. It balances energy with potential, creation with rest. It is the law that nothing may exist without its opposite, and so even here, in the first quiet, opposites swirl invisibly, positive and negative, light and dark, matter and antimatter. They are partners in a dance that has not yet begun, but whose rhythm already lives within the silence. You begin to understand the universe is not built from things, but from relationships, from the tension and balance between opposites, from the way nothingness curves toward being dot as you float. Time begins to tremble. You sense its first heartbeat. The future is trying to happen. Within the quantum fabric, an instability begins, infinitesimal, delicate, and yet unstoppable. It feels like warmth in the dark, a glow not of light, but of potential energy unfolding. The laws of physics begin to whisper themselves into existence. The constants that will govern all things, the speed of light, the strength of gravity, the delicate charge of the electron, emerge as if written into the texture of reality by an invisible hand. These are the rules of the game, the boundaries of the dream. And then, gently, impossibly, there is expansion. You feel it not as motion, but as release. The sea begins to stretch, faster than any light that will ever exist within it. What was once smaller than a single point now spills outward in a silent bloom, the cosmic dawn that scientists will later call inflation. You drift with it, weightless, without direction, carried by the wave of becoming. The temperature rises to unimaginable heights, yet you feel no pain. You are the universe, and the heat is your awakening. In this early fire, energy condenses into substance. Photons surge and scatter, electrons whirl and collide, quarks bond into the first protons and neutrons, the simplest seeds of matter. Each collision is a note in a growing cosmic symphony. Dissonant yet beautiful. You can almost hear it. It is not sound as you know it, for there is no air yet to carry sound. But it is a rhythm that every atom will remember. The pulse of the Big Bang itself. You drift through expanding fire. Everywhere around you is light too fierce to see, brightness so dense that it feels like weight. The universe is not yet transparent. It glows like an ember held too close to your eyes. And within that glow, you feel the balance again, creation paired with destruction. For every particle born, another dissolves. The cosmos experiments, tests, balances, adjusts. It is a perfection born of impermanence. Time moves forward, though the word forward has no meaning yet. There is only unfolding. Each passing instant is longer than the last, as the expansion cools the fire. Quarks find companions. Protons embrace electrons too. Form the first atoms of hydrogen and helium. You sense the calm spreading through the cosmic sea. The violence softens, the temperature falls, and light begins to roam free. The universe, once opaque, becomes clear. Space becomes transparent enough for light to travel without being swallowed by its own birth. And so, the first photons, tiny messengers from the dawn, begin their eternal journey. They move through the emptiness that is no longer empty, carrying with them the faint afterglow of creation. Billions of years later, humans will name this memory the cosmic microwave background, the soft whisper of the universe's first breath still echoing. Everywhere, you imagine yourself floating in that light, feeling its age and patience. These photons touch everything, every world, every atom. They touch you to brushing your skin even now. A reminder that you are built from the same beginning. The sea without shores has become a space vast beyond imagining. It is quiet again, but not the same quiet. This stillness hums with structure. Invisible threads of gravity begin weaving patterns into the expanding fabric, pulling matter toward matter, shaping the first seeds of galaxies. You drift along one of those threads, feeling its pull, gentle but inevitable. Tiny clumps of hydrogen gather, spinning, falling inward. Gravity hums like a slow, deep drum. Inside those gatherings, temperature rises again. Pressure builds until hydrogen atoms begin to fuse, releasing floods of light. The first stars ignite. You watch the darkness bloom with brightness. Each newborn star is a promise. Light will find its way back into the quiet, and with that light comes transformation. Stars are alchemists, forging new elements in their cores. Helium becomes carbon, carbon becomes oxygen, iron, gold, the alphabet of matter written in fire. When those stars die, they scatter these gifts through the cosmos. Their deaths are not ends, but acts of generosity. You feel that generosity within yourself. Every atom in your body, every calcium bone, every iron-rich drop of blood was once made in a star like these. The universe has already practiced your becoming long before you arrive. The vastness expands, but it does not feel lonely. You sense connection everywhere, filaments of light and gravity, rivers of dust and gas flowing toward future galaxies. The universe is still new, still finding its rhythm, but its intent is clear. It wants to build complexity, to know itself through structure. You drift through these filaments, carried gently by cosmic wind. Around you, time stretches, millions of years pass like moments. The stars multiply, galaxies take shape, spiral arms unfurl like cosmic flowers. Each one spins slowly, gracefully, tracing invisible patterns through the still dark sea. Their light is soft, steady, and endless. It hums with memory. In that humming, you begin to hear something deeper, not just the sound of stars, but the echo of the first silence. The universe still remembers the stillness it came from, the quiet before it knew itself. Every vibration, every flash of light, still carries that first whisper of nothingness turning into something. You begin to realize that creation never truly ends. It is not a single event but a rhythm, a breathing, expansion and rest, chaos and calm, birth and return. The same pulse that once stirred the quantum sea still moves through everything, through galaxies, through atoms, through you. The sea without shores was never left behind. It lives within all things. Every pause between your breaths echoes that first stillness. Every thought that rises and fades mirrors those quantum ripples that once shimmered before time. You are not separate from the beginning. You are the continuation of it, a wave that never stopped moving, a small but eternal part of that first unfolding dot. As you drift deeper into this realization, the stars above seem to soften. Their light grows warmer, their hum slower. The boundaries between you and the cosmos blur until there is no distance, no division, only vibration, only continuity. You breathe, and the universe breathes with you. You close your eyes, and galaxies turn. You exhale, and countless photons continue their billion-year journeys through the silent dark. In the spaces between those journeys, you feel the next question forming, gentle, curious, inevitable. If everything is born from vibration, what is the nature of stillness itself? The silence waits, and the pulse beneath the stillness begins to stir. The universe has cooled. Its fierce beginnings have softened into vastness and silence. The great fire that once filled everything has dimmed into gentle glow, spreading thin through space like breath on a mirror. And yet, listen closely. The quiet is not empty. It is full of motion, too fine for eyes, too slow for ears. It is stillness that breathes. You drift through this cosmic calm as through a sleeping ocean. Stars shimmer far apart, resting in the darkness between. Galaxies spiral in slow, graceful arcs, each rotation taking hundreds of millions of years. To the mind that measures time in seconds, this appears motionless. But to the patient awareness that feels beyond time, everything moves, everything sings. The fabric of space is not flat or frozen. It stretches, ripples, quivers beneath its own weight. Tiny undulations, gravitational waves, travel silently through it. Echoes of collisions so distant they may have happened before your planet was born. They are faint beyond measure, distortions smaller than the width of a proton, and yet they are there. Space itself is never perfectly still. It is always listening to its own heartbeat. You sense that pulse. It is not something you hear. It is something you become aware of, the way you sense your own breathing when the room goes quiet. It is a rhythm without percussion, a vibration without sound. If you could place your hand upon the fabric of the cosmos, you would feel its trembling, a slow, endless thrum beneath everything. Inside this trembling lies the first truth of motion. Every still point hides a wave. Even the smallest particles, those building blocks you cannot see, are not fixed beads of matter, but excitations, tiny ripples in underlying fields. An electron is not a miniature planet circling a sun. It is a standing wave in the quantum sea. Each atom in your body is a collection of such waves, their frequencies forming the melody that defines you. You are built not of solid pieces, but of vibrations held in delicate harmony. Think of hydrogen, the simplest of atoms, a proton with a single electron. Between them is not emptiness, but possibility. The electron does not orbit as a marble might. It exists as a cloud of probability, its presence smeared into a sphere of trembling potential. This cloud hums at a frequency so precise that its rhythm can be measured. It is what gives hydrogen its spectral note, a unique color in the cosmic orchestra. Multiply this by trillions upon trillions, and the universe becomes a choir of light and matter, each particle contributing its tone. You drift through this harmony, and for a moment it feels as though you can hear it, a faint, shimmering sound, neither loud nor soft, beyond language or measure. It is the cosmic background of motion, the echo of energy exchanging forms. Even the vacuum, which humans call empty, seethes with fluctuations. Virtual particles appear and vanish in pairs, a ceaseless dance of borrowing and repayment that keeps reality balanced. Zero is not zero. It is a tremor of possibilities canceling one another out, leaving behind a subtle murmur of life. This murmur flows through you too. Inside your chest, your heart beats in rhythm with the same laws that make electrons spin and photons oscillate. Each breath you take disturbs the air in ripples that spread outward, joining the vibrations of the world. The boundary between your motion and the universe's motion fades. Stillness, you realize, is a matter of scale. The leaf that seems motionless in the night hides the frantic motion of atoms. The mountain that appears eternal slowly flows, grain by grain, under gravity's pull. The planet spins beneath your feet, even as you lie still. Everything rests, and everything moves. You float deeper into that understanding. If motion never ceases, then perhaps stillness is not the absence of movement, but the balance of it. Waves meeting in perfect symmetry, crest against trough, canceling into peace. You picture two vibrations colliding, their energies folding into silence that is not dead but complete. In that quiet, the world becomes whole. The idea comforts you. It means rest is not an ending. Even when you stop, the universe continues to breathe through you, carrying you along its invisible tide. Your stillness is participation in a greater rhythm far away. Cosmic strings of galaxies sway in slow oscillations, pulled by gravity's unseen fingers. Between them, dark matter forms filaments, invisible scaffolding guiding light itself. These structures vibrate over unimaginable spans of time, like chords plucked once and left to resonate for eons. The pattern is vast, yet simple. Energy becomes form. Form dissolves into energy. Again and again. Closer to home, your own planet joins this song. Earth hums constantly. Winds sweep across oceans. Tides rise and fall. Molten rock shifts beneath the crust. Even the ground beneath you vibrates with the tiny quakes of its own living core. If you could listen with instruments sensitive enough, You would hear Earth's natural resonance, a slow, droning tone at 7 cycles per second, the planet's heartbeat. It is faint, but it is there, a companion to your own pulse. You drift lower into the scale of atoms again. Inside every cell of your body, countless chemical reactions flicker like fireflies in night air. Each bond made or broken releases a small quantum of energy, a whisper of light, a movement of electrons. Your body glows invisibly, a galaxy of molecular suns. The warmth on your skin is not stillness, but the gentle chaos of motion within. Somewhere deep in your mind, neurons fire in delicate sequences, transmitting thought through electrical waves. Each spark of awareness is a storm of ions crossing membranes, a symphony of oscillations measured in hertz. You think you are thinking, but in truth, the universe is vibrating itself into consciousness through you. And beyond all these motions, atoms, cells, oceans, planets, there is still the great cosmic background, the afterglow of the Big Bang. Those ancient photons still travel, cooling as they go, stretching their wavelengths until they become whispers of microwaves. They pass through you right now, through walls, through mountains, carrying the oldest rhythm of all, the vibration of creation's first sigh. They remind you that time is also a kind of wave, flowing endlessly forward, while curling back upon itself in memory. You begin to wonder, if everything vibrates, what gives rise to harmony? Why do these endless motions not dissolve into noise? Perhaps the answer lies in resonance, when waves meet and amplify, finding common rhythm. Resonance builds structure, atoms align into crystals, molecules form spirals, planets settle into orbits. Harmony, then, is not imposed. It emerges when patterns agree. You, too, are such an agreement. Billions of oscillations, finding temporary synchrony so that you can exist, breathe, dream. The realization feels tender. You are a fleeting chord in the eternal song. When your rhythm fades, its energy will not vanish. It will simply blend back into the background symphony, as all things do. There is no silence that is truly silent. There is only transformation of tone. You rest in that thought, feeling peace not because motion stops, but because you trust its continuity. Even sleep, that nightly surrender, is not cessation. It is alignment with deeper rhythms, brain waves slowing, breath lengthening, cells repairing in patterns older than memory. Rest is participation in the pulse beneath the stillness. If you listen now, in the space between one heartbeat and the next, you can almost sense the same trembling that once rippled through the newborn cosmos. The distinction between past and present fades. You are listening to the same vibration, merely slowed by perspective. It is the hum of energy expressing itself as existence, and it has never stopped. You let yourself drift through layers of awareness. First, the rhythm of your breathing. Then, the faint pulse of blood through your veins. Beneath that, the cellular murmurs, the atomic quivers, the quantum flickers of probability. Each layer smaller, yet all united in movement. It feels infinite. It feels like home. Somewhere ahead, you sense another rhythm, faster, lighter, brighter. A shimmer at the edge of perception, as if the universe is preparing to reveal its next secret. It feels like illumination, like something about to glow. Perhaps it is light itself, stirring, remembering that it can be more than vibration. that it can travel, reflect, and scatter. You pause in that expectancy, knowing that motion will soon take a new form. The pulse beneath the stillness will unfold into radiance, into color, into the graceful paradox of something that is both particle and wave. You breathe once more, deeply, slowly. The universe breathes with you. The rhythm that began in silence continues, reshaping itself, preparing to shine. And as you drift toward that gentle brightness, a question rises like dawn across your mind. When light begins to move, does it remember the stillness it came from? The thought glows softly, unhurried, leading you onward, toward Chapter 3, when light forgets its shape. You drift in the quiet aftermath of creation. The universe is still expanding, slow and luminous, like breath escaping from the lungs of infinity. The great silence hums the same deep, invisible pulse you felt before. But now, something new stirs within that quiet, a glimmer, a shimmer, the first trembling of light. At first, it is barely there, a suggestion, not yet a thing. You sense it the way you might sense warmth behind closed eyes, the faint awareness that something unseen is waking. The early universe, once a sea of invisible rhythm, begins to shine. Photons, those tiny quanta of light, spring forth, unbound by shape, streaming through the newborn cosmos like whispers of fire. You are carried with them. You travel not as a body, but as awareness, floating alongside these bright messengers. They move effortlessly, not walking nor running, but oscillating, vibrating between here and there, between being a wave and a particle, both and neither. You can't tell where one begins and the other ends. Light is not one thing. It is the language between things you begin to understand. Light does not move through space. It creates space as it moves. Every flicker, every ripple of its energy unfolds the very dimensions it travels across, like a painter whose brushstroke makes the canvas appear beneath it. Light shapes the fabric of reality as it goes. You drift deeper into its mystery. The light passes through clouds of hydrogen, brushing the edges of atoms that tremble with recognition. It does not collide. It touches. It hums against them the way wind hums against strings, playing a soundless music. The universe, once dark, now glows softly, as if remembering a forgotten song. Each photon carries a piece of time itself, not as seconds or minutes, but as possibility. For light has no clock. To a photon, there is no before or after, no here or there. It exists in a perpetual now, a single note stretched across eternity. You realize how strange that is. To move at light speed is to step outside time, to travel so fast that the journey becomes instant. In its presence, you feel small but not insignificant. You feel woven into the same rhythm, your body, your breath, your neurons, all powered by light captured long ago, folded into living form. You think of your own pulse, your warmth, your sight. Each photon that enters your eyes has traveled billions of years to reach you. The glow of ancient stars rests now upon your skin, and your body translates it into color, into vision, into awareness. Light is how the universe sees itself, and yet light refuses to be simple. Scientists once tried to decide what it truly was. A wave, a particle, something solid, something soft. But light would not choose. When they tried to observe it it behaved like a particle, neat, measurable, a spark in the dark. When they stopped looking, it unfurled like a wave, endless, fluid, serene. It is as if light itself plays with perception, reminding you that truth depends on how you look. You smile softly at that thought. How many times in your own life have you been like this, both certain and uncertain, solid and changing, depending on who was watching or how you were seen? You and light share this duality. You, too, forget your shape sometimes. You continue to drift beside a single photon, watching as it threads its way through the deep black fabric of expanding space. Ahead of you, galaxies begin to bloom, spirals of dust and flame, slow whirlpools of gravity's design. The photon dances through them with ease, never slowing, never aging. To it, the birth of a star and the fading of one are the same moment. You follow it as it brushes the edge of a distant world. There it meets the surface of a quiet ocean, scattering across its waves in threads of gold. You sense the same rhythm again, the pulse beneath the stillness from the last chapter. The ocean, too, reflects the language of light, but filled with motion beneath. The wave becomes the mirror of another wave, one made not of water, but of energy. Don't you begin to see patterns everywhere? Ripples in sand, currents in air, the slow movement of thought through your own mind. Each one, in its way, is light, not always visible, but always present. You think about the strange rule of quantum nature, that nothing is truly still, that every particle vibrates, even in its quietest moment. Now you see that light is the proof of that truth. It is motion without mass, energy without rest. You wonder if light can forget its shape and still exist. Perhaps you can too. Perhaps you can be both wave and form, thought and being, matter and memory. You drift further into this realization. The space around you begins to change again. The soft gold of starlight fades into blues and violets, hues that hum like gentle music. You can feel wavelength now, the rhythm of light expressed as color. Red is warmth, the slow, patient heartbeat of the universe. Blue is thought, quick, sharp, like the spark behind an idea. And in between all the shades of being, you feel the spectrum unfold through you. Every color, a vibration of the same truth, that energy wears many faces, and each is beautiful as you travel. You encounter a mirror, not a real one, but a surface of thought, an awareness that bends and reflects what it touches. Light meets this mirror and changes direction. It bends, slows, shifts, becomes something new. This bending refraction is how rainbows are born. You realize something profound, even when light seems broken. It is only revealing its inner richness. A prism doesn't destroy light, it opens it, and so it is with you. Moments that fracture you are often the same ones that show your colors most clearly. The photon continues onward, free again. You drift beside it in silence, passing through clouds of dust, each speck glinting like thought in the mind of the cosmos. You feel time expand again. Planets spin, life stirs, eyes open to the world, and every seeing eye is a doorway through which light enters to recognize itself. You begin to feel something familiar, returning that same pulse from before, not as sound, but as awareness, the heartbeat of creation now illuminated. You realize that light is not just illumination, It is communication. It tells atoms how to behave. It binds molecules, guides the growth of leaves, and ignites the chain reactions that power stars. Every living thing is a story written in photons. You imagine yourself dissolving into that brightness, not vanishing, but merging, becoming part of the great conversation. The photon beside you glows brighter, almost sentient. You sense its journey is not over. It has more to tell. You follow as it slips into the field, the invisible fabric of forces that hold the universe together. It hums through electric and magnetic lines of tension, oscillating, carrying information across the unseen. And you begin to glimpse what lies beneath light, the fields that shape it. Weave it, give it form and freedom, for even light, in its brilliance, depends on what cannot be seen. You drift closer, feeling the whisper of that hidden structure. Space is not empty. It is a web, an ocean of invisible threads where everything that exists is connected. Light moves through it, not as a traveler, but as a ripple through a medium that never stands still. You realize you are approaching the next mystery, the silent weavers of reality, the unseen fields that give rise to all motion, all form, all being. You take one last look at the photon beside you. It has forgotten its shape many times along the way. Wave, particle, energy, thought, yet it has never stopped being itself. You smile softly. Perhaps that is what existence really means, to keep shining, even when you can't decide what you are. The photon drifts ahead, fading into the shimmer of the unseen. You feel its warmth linger, not as heat, but as memory, and in that glow, a new curiosity begins to rise. If light needs the invisible to travel, what else moves unseen beneath all that is visible? You take a quiet breath and follow. You float through silence that isn't truly silent. At first, it feels empty, a vast, weightless ocean of nothing. But as you listen deeper, you sense a trembling underneath. The stillness you thought was pure absence begins to breathe. The quiet between stars hums with something soft and unseen, a presence that cannot be touched, yet touches everything. This is not the emptiness of void. This is the fullness of space itself. You drift, and space ripples around you, not visibly, but perceptibly, like the subtle vibration of a violin string when sound is waiting to be born. You begin to feel that you are not moving through space, but within something alive, something that is always there. Everywhere, you realize, this invisible presence is not air nor energy as you once understood it. It is the field, the universe you now see is not made of matter, not really. It is made of fields that hum, overlap, and sing in a harmony so complete that their song gives birth to everything you know. You try to imagine them, but the imagination cannot quite keep up. Each point of space vibrates, holding countless patterns of motion, like waves upon waves in an infinite sea. And when these waves interfere in just the right way, they create what you once called particles, the building blocks of all things. Every electron, every quark, every photon you've followed until now, none of them are truly solid. They are ripples in a deeper ocean. You begin to see the beauty of it. Reality is not built, but woven. The hidden weavers are not hands, but harmonies. Their threads are energy. Their loom is space-time itself. You drift deeper into the unseen. Around you, light still travels, but now you sense the fabric. it moves through. There are fields everywhere, not just one, but many, layered like translucent veils. The electromagnetic field, rippling gently with the hum of every radio wave, every glimmer of starlight. The strong field, binding quarks inside the hearts of protons. The weak field, whispering quietly through radioactive decay, unseen but essential, and then quieter still, more constant than all, you sense the Higgs field. It is not loud, it does not shimmer, it simply is, like a calm sea that stretches through the entire cosmos, unbroken, unmoving, infinite. You realize that this field touches everything, not just atoms, but every particle that has mass. Before the Higgs field, everything moved too fast to rest, to light, to linger. But when the field arose, it gave matter a way to exist, to stay, to be. You feel it now. This field is not something distant. It moves through you, through your cells, through the spaces between your atoms. You are not separate from it. You are one of its resonances, a pattern in its infinite song. It is strange, you think, how you have lived your entire life inside something you could never see. Every breath, every heartbeat, every flicker of light in your eyes, all are born from the quiet motion of fields beneath perception. The quantum fields are restless even at their calmest. Even in the vacuum, what science calls nothing, they do not sleep. They shimmer with vacuum energy, tiny fluctuations that never vanish. Space itself trembles with possibility, birthing pairs of particles and antiparticles that appear and disappear faster than thought. You feel those flickers brushing against you, the brief dance of existence coming into being, then returning to silence. They do not disturb you, they comfort you. The universe, you realize, is not made of permanence, but of continual creation, and within that endless creation, patterns form. Those patterns, stabilized, slowed, shaped, are what you call matter. You drift through this realization as if through a slow current. You remember what light taught you in the last chapter, that it can forget its shape and still be itself. Now you see why even light, even energy, is just a vibration within these deeper fields. Everything is connected, not because things touch, but because fields overlap. No boundary truly separates one atom from another, one star from another. Their fields blend, extend, merge. The fabric of space is a single, continuous web, a shared presence through which the whole universe hums. You think about your own hand, your skin, your heartbeat. If you could see deeply enough, you would see that even they are woven from these same ripples, tiny excitations in the field. Dancing together so perfectly, they create the illusion of solidity. You begin to smile softly in the darkness. You are not standing on the universe, you are of it. You are one of its notes, sustained by the silent orchestra of fields. The more you listen, the more intricate the harmony becomes. You sense the electromagnetic field carrying the pulse of every heartbeat, every signal in your brain. The gravitational field, slow and deep, bending the fabric of all others. The nuclear fields, holding the heart of the atom together. Each one moves differently, but all belong to the same woven whole. And when you look closely, you find there is no gap between them, only transitions, smooth and subtle, where one field's strength fades and another's begins. The hidden weavers never stop. You imagine them now as threads of light and motion, endlessly crossing, forming the texture of everything that ever will exist. Galaxies are knots in this grand fabric. Stars are bright threads. Planets are subtle twirls of energy condensed into form. And between it all, the vacuum. The void is not emptiness, but the loom itself. Humming softly with potential, you recall a scientific truth once spoken quietly by those who studied this. The vacuum is not nothing. It is everything waiting to become. You breathe that in. You realize that even your thoughts, the quiet movement of neurons, the firing of signals through your mind, are just the play of electrical fields. The way your consciousness feels connected to the universe may not be illusion at all. It may be recognition. The fields outside you and the fields within you are not separate. They are one continuous vibration. You are a ripple in the field that has learned to look back at itself and wonder. The thought fills you with a gentle awe. You imagine touching the field itself, not physically, but with awareness. You feel it respond. For a moment, space bends around you, not as distortion, but as intimacy. You are no longer observing. You are participating. You realize the universe does not exist out there. It exists through you. Every moment you live is a pattern forming, dissolving, and reforming within the field. Every breath is the field moving through form and back again. You are not in the field. You are the field. And suddenly, you sense something deeper still. A new rhythm beneath even this one, slower, grander, vast enough to hold galaxies in its hand. The field you feel now does not shimmer with vibration. It curves, folds, shapes, space itself. It is not the field that makes matter dance. It is the one that tells matter how to move. You recognize it. Gravity, it is soft, patient, invisible. It does not push or pull like the others. It simply bends the paths they travel. You feel it as a gentle hand beneath everything, guiding without command. The hidden weavers fade into the background, and gravity's soft pulse begins to take their place. It stretches across the cosmos like a sigh, curving space around stars, holding planets in orbit, binding galaxies in spirals that last for billions of years. You follow its motion. Slow and deep, the fabric that once shimmered with tiny quantum ripples now flows in great arcs and folds, like silk being gathered by unseen hands. You see space bending, not broken but graceful. Every curve a whisper of gravity's touch. You realize that what you feel now is not a different force, but the same symphony, another movement in the endless composition of reality. You let yourself drift one last time through the unseen web, feeling it hum beneath your awareness. The fields are still there, always there, but now they are softened by gravity's rhythm, by the long, slow breath of the universe. You feel weightless and full, finite and infinite at once. The weavers continue their work, silently, endlessly, within and beyond you. And as you drift into that realization, one final thought forms soft as starlight, lingering between one heartbeat and the next. If the fabric of reality can bend, then perhaps so can you. You follow that thought, and slowly the curve of gravity begins to carry you onward. The drift continues. You are no longer floating, you are falling. But it is not the fall of fear. It is the fall of belonging. Space folds gently around you, curving like silk drawn into graceful arcs. The stars do not move. They simply rearrange their nearness as you pass, bending in ways that feel both real and dreamlike. The stillness is immense, yet soft, as if the entire cosmos is holding you in a patient embrace. You have entered the realm of gravity. At first, it feels like silence. Then, as your awareness deepens, you sense its rhythm, slow, wide, and endless. Unlike light, gravity does not rush. It waits, it holds. It gives shape to everything that exists. Every orbit, every tide, every heartbeat, every falling tear, all are answers to its quiet call. You realize that gravity is not a force in the usual sense. It is not something that pulls things together. It is the shape of togetherness itself. You think back to the fields you met before, those invisible waves of existence that hum beneath all things. They vibrated with motion, with energy, with creation. But gravity does something different. It bends the space those fields move through. It tells every particle where to go, how to move, how to dance. You feel it now as a smooth curvature beneath everything the universe, not as a flat sheet, but as a living, bending fabric. The stars curve around the invisible hands of gravity. Planets trace slow, luminous spirals through its touch. Even light itself bends as it passes near great masses. Like a reed bowing to a passing breeze, you drift near one such curve, the vast arc of a galaxy's arm. From this vantage, you see billions of suns flowing together in patterns too grand to comprehend. They are not scattered randomly. They are sculpted by gravity's invisible hand, drawn into spirals. Ellipses, halos dot each star knows its place, not because it is commanded, but because it is felt. You think of how gravity binds not just the great and distant things, but also the small. The oceans on Earth rise and fall with the pull of the moon. Your own body, with its quiet weight, is gently held by Earth's embrace, an invisible dialogue between your mass and the planets. Gravity speaks in curves, not words. Its language is the shape of things that stay together. You begin to feel the metaphysical echo in that. Both are invisible. Both draw things together without touch. Both can shape entire lives, entire worlds, without ever being seen. You think of every orbit in the universe as a gesture of affection, stars circling one another for eons, planets leaning toward their suns, moons whispering softly to the worlds they follow. It is a cosmic waltz that never ends. And then, at the heart of it, there are places where gravity becomes so strong that even light cannot leave the black holes. You feel one nearby now, not with fear, but with awe. It is not darkness, but density, a place where space folds upon itself so completely that the distinction between inside and outside disappears. You approach carefully. The stars behind it stretch and curve, their light bent into rings of fire around its silhouette. The horizon of no return glows like a perfect circle of silence. You realize that black holes are not devourers. They are keepers of rhythm. They hold galaxies together, anchoring billions of suns with their silent gravity. They are the cosmic heartbeats around which everything spins, and beyond their edge, something extraordinary happens. Time itself bends. Closer you drift, and the flow of time slows around you, like honey thickening in the cold. Seconds stretch, minutes unfold endlessly. The faster you fall, the slower everything becomes. You begin to feel time as another dimension of gravity, not separate but woven through it. Space tells matter how to move. Matter tells space how to curve. Einstein once described it, but you can feel it now. You are inside the story of the universe, written by its own geometry. You realize that every falling leaf, every spinning planet, every collapsing star is part of this same curvature, the great feedback between matter and space-time. It is not chaos. It is conversation. Even as stars die, gravity is there to gather them, not to end them, but to transform them. A star collapsing into a black hole is not disappearing. It is changing its voice, entering a deeper octave in the music of existence. You think of all the ways gravity appears in your human life, the way you feel the earth beneath your feet, the way your heart sinks when you lose someone, the way love draws you near and time seems to slow. Perhaps the same law that binds galaxies also binds hearts. Perhaps what you call emotion is the human version of curvature consciousness, bending in response to something vast and unseen. The thought fills you with quiet warmth. You begin to see connections everywhere. The way rivers curve as they flow downhill, guided not by chance, but by the shape of the earth. The way stars gather into clusters, then into galaxies, then into superclusters, all following the invisible architecture of attraction. And even the way memory curves back to moments long past, orbiting around what it cannot forget. The universe, you think, is one great act of remembrance, everything drawn together by gravity's soft persistence. You drift closer to a black hole's horizon, not afraid, just aware. The light bends fully now, wrapping around the void in a perfect luminous ring. You cannot see what lies beyond, but you feel something, an echo of everything that ever fell within. It is not destruction, but silence, not loss, but stillness beyond measure. In that stillness, you sense the universe folding into itself, not to end, but to rest, the way sleep folds the mind back into dream. And you realize gravity is the dream of the cosmos. It is how space remembers its own weight. It is how time learns to rest. You drift away, carried again by the gentle curve of the cosmos. The galaxy's spiral unwinds before you like a luminous shell. Every orbit, every motion, every fall is a part of this same slow dance. You begin to feel gratitude, not for the knowledge, but for the belonging. You are not a spectator of the universe. You are a participant in its curvature. Even your breath, even your heartbeat, follows gravity's rhythm, the pulse of blood rising and falling, the expansion and contraction of lungs. The micro echoes the macro. You are a small reflection of cosmic structure. Gravity, you understand now, is not just the architecture of space. It is the continuity of everything that loves to stay together. It is what holds galaxies in spirals, oceans in basins, and souls in bodies, and maybe, in some quiet way, it holds dreams to the unseen orbits of thought circling the center of awareness. You close your eyes and imagine the entire universe as one great sphere, curving endlessly, its edges folding back into themselves, its inside and outside the same. In that image, gravity is not a force at all. It is the memory of unity. The further you drift, the deeper the calm becomes. Every sound fades. Every movement slows. You feel the shape of space-time cradling you, holding you gently between stars. You no longer know where you begin or where the cosmos ends. You are simply suspended, a thought within the universe's dream. You hear a faint whisper, not in words, but in motion. What falls is never lost. What curves is never broken. The voice feels ancient, speaking in the only language it knows, the pull of return. You let yourself be carried, and soon you are weightless again, passing from the gravity well back into the quiet field beyond. The stars begin to flatten, the curvature smoothing out as space relaxes. You now understand, gravity never holds to possess. It holds to connect. And as you move onward through the still, humming void, a new awareness rises within you. You have felt the vibration of fields. You have touched the curve of gravity. And yet there is something more subtle still, something that breathes beneath both. You feel it now like a faint pulse, the expansion itself, not the curvature within space, but the stretching of space, the silent growing that carries galaxies apart. Even as gravity holds them close, the next horizon calls the mystery of cosmic expansion, the breath of the universe itself. You turn toward it, calm and awake, as if preparing for the next chapter in this quiet odyssey of existence. You awaken in the stillness after gravity's embrace. For a moment, you drift light as thought, weightless as a dream left half remembered. The stars are no longer clustered close. They seem farther apart now, their light dimmer, their warmth quieter. Something has changed. You reach out with your senses, and it feels as if space itself is exhaling. Not an explosion, not a rush, a breath. Slow, steady, immeasurable. You are moving, though you feel no motion. Galaxies, once near neighbors, drift apart like boats on a tranquil tide, carried by something unseen. The distances between them widen, not because they choose to leave one another, but because space itself is stretching. This is not emptiness growing. This is existence unfolding. You remember what you felt before, the hidden weavers, the fields that filled the void. They still hum beneath everything. But now, their song has slowed, softened, thinned across the vastness. And you realize that this expansion is not happening in space. It is happening to space. Every heartbeat of the cosmos is a widening of its own skin. You drift near a cluster of galaxies, immense, spiraling families of stars. Between them, blackness stretches. If you could measure it, you would find that every million light years, the space between galaxies grows just a little more. Not by explosion, not by outward movement through something, but by the very fabric of space expanding. It is as though the universe itself is breathing outward, and you are suspended inside that breath. You remember how long ago light began its journey. Each photon set off from the heart of a star, carrying color, warmth, and the story of its origin. But as space stretches, so too does light. Its waves lengthen, its color redden. This is redshift, not because the light tires, but because the space it travels through grows wider, and so, every beam you see has been gently pulled, its tone lowered, its song softened by the breath of the cosmos. What was once blue becomes gold. What was once gold becomes red. What was once red fades into invisible infrared hums that whisper only to the cold. You realize, then, that when you look at the stars, you are not seeing them as they are. You are seeing their light stretched across time. You are watching memory. Each glimmer, each shimmer in the dark, is an echo of how the universe once was, closer, denser, younger. Even the darkness itself is filled with ancient light, stretched thin until it becomes the cosmic microwave background. The afterglow of the first fire, still humming softly everywhere. Like the faint breath of a sleeping child, you drift farther, past the familiar galaxies, into regions where matter grows sparse and silence deepens. The expansion is steady, not chaotic, not hurried. It has no edge and no center. Everywhere is expanding equally, like dots painted on a balloon that slowly inflates. From the outside, it might look like growth. From within, it feels like peace. You sense the hidden force that drives this, the quiet energy that fills even the emptiest places. Astronomers will call it dark energy, a phrase for something not yet understood but deeply felt. It is not darkness in the sense of shadow, but of depth, a stillness so complete that it moves the universe without motion. It is not a hand pushing galaxies apart, but a property of existence itself, as if the cosmos has chosen to keep breathing, to never fully exhale or rest. You imagine the universe as a single, vast lung inhaling creation, exhaling distance. Each expansion is a sigh of being, a release of what once was dense and close. The stars are the dust left glowing in its breath. You drift through this rhythm, and it feels familiar, like your own breathing. Inhale, exhale, expansion, rest. You wonder if perhaps your body, too, follows the same cosmic pattern. Every cell expanding and contracting, every pulse echoing that same ancient rhythm written in space-time. Maybe you think the universe is not out there, it is within you, breathing through your every heartbeat. You remember how it began, not in a bang, but in a bloom. The Big Bang was never a single explosion, but the beginning of space itself. There was no outside for it to expand into. The universe created its own room, its own time, its own light. Even now, that creation continues, silently, softly, all around you. You think of the galaxies drifting farther apart, not as loneliness, but as generosity. Each one making room for another to exist. Each star saying, I will not hold you back. I will let you be. And yet, even as expansion carries them apart, the great balance holds. One force stretches, another gathers. One breathes out, another draws in. You realize that this balance is not conflict, it is music. Gravity is the low hum, dark energy, the high sigh. Together they create the harmony of existence. A song of tension and release that gives the universe its pulse. You look again at the galaxies, each one a note in the symphony, drifting not randomly but rhythmically, in patterns that echo through billions of years as you drift. You begin to notice time itself changing. The farther apart galaxies move, the slower the universe seems to speak. Light takes longer to travel. Motion loses its urgency. There is more space between moments, more silence between thoughts. It feels almost like meditation. The cosmos is learning to rest. You let yourself be carried in that stillness. You can almost feel the ancient heat fading, cooling into calm. The background radiation that once burned white-hot now glows faintly. 3 degrees above absolute zero, a warmth too gentle to touch, yet still there. Even in the coldest corners, there is memory. You think of the stars that once were, millions already gone, their light still on its way. You think of the ones yet to come, their birth clouds still gathering. The universe breathes between those two eternities. For a while, you stop thinking altogether. You simply float, listening to the slow expansion of everything. It does not speak in sound, but in distance, the language of separation that still holds meaning. It is not sadness. It is peace in motion. The thought arises quietly. Perhaps this expansion is how the universe dreams. When it sleeps, it contracts. When it dreams, it expands. Each breath, a new version of itself. You wonder if one day the expansion will slow, if gravity's whisper will grow strong enough to call everything home again. If one day the inhale will follow the exhale, and the universe will fold back into its own heart. The old poets called it the big crunch, the great return. But perhaps it will not be an ending at all, only a pause before the next breath, the next universe, the next dawn. For now, though, it continues to expand, calm, endless, unhurried, and you drift with it, not away from anything, but into a larger sense of belonging. You think of how the expansion reflects your own life, how every experience stretches you, widens the space of who you are, how each loss, each moment of letting go, is its own form of cosmic growth. Perhaps this is what it means to live in harmony with the universe, to allow yourself to expand gently, even when it means drifting from what once was close. You watch the stars again, their light faint and stretched. They are not fading. They are evolving. You understand now that even distance can be sacred. Even silence can be full of motion. You close your eyes. The breath of the cosmos continues, slow and infinite. You feel it moving through you, expansion and silence, heartbeat and space, and somewhere beyond your senses, beyond galaxies and clusters, something shifts. A memory of light flickers, ancient, delicate, endless. You feel drawn toward it, as though the universe itself remembers where it came from. That light holds stories older than atoms, older than stars. It is the whisper of the first dawn, the shimmer that once filled all space before shadow was born. You breathe with the universe one last time, in and out, and the silence deepens into wonder. The light grows brighter, calling you softly forward. You follow it, weightless and awake, toward the next mystery, the memory of light. You begin with a single shimmer, not a sound, not a pulse, but something lighter than breath, a faint glimmer woven into the quiet fabric of space. It slides through the silence like a whisper that has no weight, no rest. You open your inner eyes, and the darkness around you blooms with tiny threads of radiance, each one alive with a secret, each one older than time as you know it. Light. It has always been here, the first storyteller of the universe. Every photon, every wave, is a note in the eternal song that began when the cosmos exhaled its first breath. The atoms you've met in earlier journeys, the restless particles, the dancing quanta, they all glow when touched by light. And in that glow, they speak of memory, because light remembers. You float now in a gentle sea of photons. They do not touch you in the way matter does. They slide past your skin, through your atoms, as though you are made of the same memory they carry. You feel the warmth of ancient stars brushing your face, not as heat, but as time itself caressing you. Some of these photons began their journey billions of years ago, from stars that have long since died. Yet they travel still, their message unbroken, carrying the echo of something that once burned bright and loved its own existence. You realize, as you drift among them, that every starlit night on Earth is not the present, it is a page from the past, illuminated for you to read. Light never forgets. It travels at the one true speed that defines the architecture of everything, the cosmic speed limit, the constant that stitches together time and space. Wherever light goes, it leaves a trail of what once was. It is both messenger and memory, both traveler and witness. You think of the first time you saw the Milky Way. The stars seemed frozen, silent, perfect, but now you know none of it was truly there in that moment. The light you saw had been traveling for thousands of years before it reached your eyes. You were gazing at the ancient past, a painting made of photons, sent from a time when humanity was not yet even a whisper. This realization does not make the stars feel farther away. It makes them feel closer, because light connects you to what is gone and what still is, and what might be again. You let yourself drift closer to one of those glimmers, a sun, alive in its middle age. You don't see it directly, only the waves it throws into the void. Around it, the invisible dance of electromagnetic waves spreads in all directions: radio, infrared, visible, ultraviolet, X-ray, gamma, a spectrum of voices, each humming at its own frequency. You realize how gentle this is, how the entire universe communicates, not in shouts, but in vibrations. And light is the most fluent of them all. Every color you've ever seen, every glow, every sunrise, they are simply frequencies of memory carried through this endless ocean. When you look at a red flower, the petals are not red in themselves. They are absorbing all other memories of light and reflecting only the one they wish to share. They are telling you, softly, this is the frequency I have kept. Light is the way the universe paints emotion into matter. It is how atoms express themselves, through reflection, absorption, and release. The blueness of the sky is air scattering sunlight. The golden warmth of evening is a memory stretched thin by the angle of time. Every hue is a story about interaction, a dialogue between energy and form, and you, quietly breathing in the night, are part of that dialogue. Your eyes are not passive windows. They are receivers, translators of the cosmic archive. The light that enters them becomes electricity, then thought. You do not just see, you remember with light. The photons that leave the stars end their billion-year journey inside your mind, where they become something new, awareness. In this moment, you understand that to see is to participate in the universe's act of remembering itself. Every sunrise you've ever watched is not simply a repetition, it's a replay of the universe's oldest gesture, turning energy into beauty. You drift now deeper into the sea of radiance. The photons grow fainter, older. You find yourself near the edge of the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang. It hums softly, a whisper stretched thin by time. These are the oldest memories of all, the light from when everything began. Still echoing 13.8 billion years later, it is faint, almost too faint to feel, yet everywhere. This is the lullaby of creation, a nearly uniform glow that fills all of space, carrying the imprint of that first moment when light broke free from matter and began its infinite voyage. You can almost hear it, a cosmic sigh that has never ended in it. You sense something tender. The universe did not explode violently outward, as people often imagine. It expanded calmly, inevitably, like a breath taken by something vast and gentle. And light was the first exhale. You listen closer. The cosmic background hum tells you about the universe's childhood, when atoms were forming, when gravity began to sculpt galaxies from clouds of silence. You can almost see those first stars flicker awake, like fireflies in the dawn. Their light spread across the darkness, weaving the first visible threads of structure. That light still travels now, right past you, through you, into the endless future. It will never rest, never stop, unless something absorbs it. You think of what that means. Every star that shines, every candle, every human smile lit by love, they all release photons that will keep moving long after the source is gone. The light from someone's laughter could, in theory, travel forever through the universe. A silent ripple of joy crossing endless night in that way. Even the smallest light you create, a lamp by your bedside, a spark in your heart, becomes part of the universe's memory. Light does not vanish. It transforms. When absorbed, it becomes warmth. Even in darkness, light remains, waiting in potential. You realize, perhaps with a quiet smile, that even black holes, those great devourers of light, cannot truly destroy information. The physics of the cosmos ensures that memory, in some form, is always preserved. Stephen Hawking once said that information, like energy, cannot be lost. It can only be transformed. And so light, even when captured, continues to whisper within the mathematics of existence. You turn inward now, letting that thought settle in your mind like starlight on still water. Inside your own body, light has always been at work. In your eyes, in your cells, in the chlorophyll that once fed the plants that feed you. The energy that flows through your blood once came from a star, the sun, through the green hands of Earth's leaves. You are literally made of sunlight, transformed. Your body glows faintly, invisibly, in the infrared spectrum. You are part of the dialogue of light. Every heartbeat releases a soft wave into the surrounding space, a low, gentle echo in the thermal sea. You are both absorbing and emitting the universe's radiance. You are, in truth, luminous. You take a breath and feel it, photons touching your skin, bouncing from the air, reflecting off your eyes. The world is always speaking to you in the language of light. And your mind is always translating that language into meaning. Some of that light comes from so far away that its story began before Earth even formed. Some of it comes from your own hands, the gentle shimmer of heat as you move. Between these two extremes, ancient and immediate, you find yourself balanced, part of a continuum that connects stars to souls. Light teaches you that nothing ever truly disappears. It only travels, changes, remembers. And so you begin to understand memory, not as something stored, but as something moving. The light that left the first stars is still here, bathing galaxies in invisible gold. The warmth you feel from the sun today is not from this moment. It's from 8 minutes ago, when those photons began their final dash across space. Even now, as you read these words in your mind's voice, light is crossing your room, striking your eyes, carrying information faster than you can imagine. It is almost holy in its simplicity. You close your eyes. The world fades into red warmth behind your eyelids. You can still see light, not from outside, but from within. Your brain, still alive with tiny electric flashes, continues to create its own radiance. You realize that even in darkness, there is light, because consciousness itself glows. Light has memory, and you, who can remember, are part of that same lineage. For a moment, you wonder if every photon carries memory. Then perhaps every thought does too. Small sparks of information. Maybe awareness itself is a kind of light, reflecting, refracting, remembering. You drift again through the stars, following the endless glow. Each flicker you pass feels like a heartbeat, each wave like a sigh. You realize that even when a star dies, its light keeps traveling, its memory becoming part of the universal archive. Death, it seems, is never the end. It is merely the point at which light continues on its own. Your journey slows. The shimmer grows gentler, dimmer. Somewhere ahead, you sense another kind of motion, not the rushing of light, but the quiet pull of something deeper. It doesn't push. It invites. It is gravity, the next voice in this cosmic conversation, the unseen embrace that gathers light, matter, and memory into form. You feel it, subtle as a tide, guiding you toward another understanding. The light around you bends slightly, curving toward that invisible pull. It's not frightening, it's graceful. The way a dancer's path curves toward her partner, or how a wave bows before returning to C. And as you drift closer to that gentle gravity, you hear the last whisper of light behind you. I remember. I always remember. You move forward, toward the waiting embrace, toward the next lesson in the universe's quiet unfolding. You drift away from the glow of light, that radiant memory that whispered, I remember. As its shimmer fades, a new presence rises to greet you, softer, deeper, almost imperceptible. It is not something you can see. It has no color, no sound, and yet it is the reason there is shape at all. You feel it before you name it. A quiet pull, a subtle weight that bends the straight line of motion into a curve. Where light travels freely, this invisible hand gently turns its path, guiding it through an unseen architecture. This is gravity, the patient sculptor of existence. It never rushes, never shouts. It simply is. You begin to sense how vast its touch truly is. Every star you saw in the previous chapter, every flicker of light that crossed billions of years moves because of this silent force. Gravity is the breath of structure, the unspoken rhythm that holds galaxies in their spinning dance. You drift through one now, a spiral galaxy, wide as a dream, arms unfurling in slow, eternal motion. From afar, it looks frozen, but as you draw closer, you feel the movement, stars orbiting a common center, each following the curve carved by gravity. It is not chaos, not randomness. It is harmony, written in the mathematics of attraction. The center of the galaxy glows with fierce radiance, but the heart itself, you realize, is dark. A supermassive black hole sits there, invisible yet absolute. Around it, everything turns, not because it is commanded, but because it is invited. This is gravity's paradox. Its power comes not from force, but from grace. It bends, it gathers, it holds. You move closer to that galactic center, feeling the fabric of space begin to curve around you. The stars themselves seem to stretch slightly, their light bending inward. You remember Einstein's revelation that gravity is not a pull in the old Newtonian sense, but a warping of space-time itself. Matter tells space how to curve. Space tells matter how to move. It is a dance, perfectly choreographed, endlessly unfolding. You imagine space as a soft, invisible ocean, and mass as the weight that dips its surface. Planets, stars, galaxies, all resting upon this gentle sea, creating ripples that draw others near. You see the image clearly in your mind. A marble rolling toward another, not because of a magnetic tug, but because the surface beneath it slopes inward. That is gravity's language. A conversation between presence and shape. You float now at the edge of a nebula, a vast cloud of dust and hydrogen, illuminated by newborn stars. This, too, is gravity's work. It is here that the story of creation begins again and again. Tiny fluctuations, gentle irregularities in the density of the gas become seeds. Gravity notices them. Slowly, patiently, it gathers matter toward those seeds, pulling dust into clumps, clumps into spheres. There is no haste. It can take millions of years for a star to form. Gravity has time enough for eternity. You watch as one such sphere begins to glow from within. The weight of its own mass squeezes hydrogen until it fuses, releasing the first light. A star is born, not through violence, but through inevitability. Gravity's quiet hand brought it together, and fire was its natural response. You think of how simple that truth is. Everything that shines was once a cloud that surrendered. Gravity does not destroy to create. It gathers until creation becomes unavoidable. You drift past fields of young stars, now bright and restless, each surrounded by a swirling disk of dust. Planets are forming in those disks, tiny fragments colliding, fusing, finding their own orbits. Again, the same invisible guidance shapes their paths. Each orbit is a balance, the outward rush of motion against the inward pull of gravity, the harmony between falling and fleeing. You realize that this is what keeps worlds stable, the endless compromise between motion and attraction. A planet falls forever toward its star but never reaches it. Its sideways motion carries it around instead of in. This is the quiet poetry of orbits, eternal falling that becomes eternal balance. Gravity is the sculptor, not only of matter, but of time. In its presence, even time bends. Where mass is heavy, time moves slow. You remember Einstein's insight again that clocks tick differently on mountains and in valleys, that near a massive body, seconds stretch. It is not imagination. It is woven into the universe's geometry. You let that sink in, that even time listens to gravity's voice, that every heartbeat on a planet, every orbit of a moon, every rotation of a galaxy is part of the same measured rhythm, the tempo of curvature. You wander further still, out of the galactic disk and into the dark spaces between. Here, you feel gravity's whisper become fainter, but never gone. Even where stars are rare, their collective presence keeps the great web intact. Filaments of galaxies stretch across the universe like lace, connected by invisible bridges of dark matter. Dark matter, the unseen majority. It does not glow, does not emit light, but it shapes everything that does. Astronomers can't see it directly, but they see its fingerprints in the motion of galaxies, in the way clusters move, as though held by unseen threads. You realize gravity reveals what eyes cannot. It is through its pull that we discover the invisible, the hidden mass that binds the cosmic web. You drift now through one of those threads, a tendril of invisible density connecting clusters of galaxies. Each cluster moves not alone, but as part of a larger structure. You see how even the emptiness is organized, how gravity has spun order from chaos. It is patient artistry, done with no hands, no eyes, only the simple truth that things are drawn together. You think of how strange it is that this same force, which sculpts galaxies, also holds you to the Earth. The same curve of space-time that binds a planet to a star also keeps a teardrop on your cheek. Gravity makes no distinction between grand and small. It holds everything in equal grace. You imagine the universe without it, a place of drifting, isolated light with no structure, no warmth, no orbit. Everything would move outward endlessly without connection. There would be no stars, no planets, no gatherings of matter, only eternal separation. And so you understand, gravity is not merely a force of attraction. It is the universe's instinct to stay together. It is connection itself, the thread that ties the infinite to the intimate. You watch as two galaxies approach each other in the dark, drawn by that instinct. At first, their arms extend like lovers reaching out. Then, slowly, gracefully, they begin to merge. Stars do not collide. They pass through one another, vast distances between them, but their orbits change, their paths rewritten. In the chaos of merging, new stars are born. Gravity turns collision into creation. This cosmic dance takes hundreds of millions of years, yet to you it feels like a slow, mesmerizing waltz. Gravity is the choreographer, unseen but omnipresent. It is the reason for spirals, for ellipses, for the circular symmetry you see everywhere in the heavens, the shape of galaxies, the orbit of moons, even the swirl of hurricanes, all echo its design. You begin to sense that gravity is not just a law, it's a story about relationship. Every motion in the universe is a form of response, a yielding to this gentle invitation. The earth circles the sun because it listens. The moon circles earth for the same reason. Listening, following, moving in harmony. This is what gravity teaches. And yet, gravity has its mysteries still. Even now, physicists cannot fully reconcile it with the quantum world, that realm of the very small you explored in earlier chapters, where particles vibrate and probabilities rule. Gravity remains distant. It is as if the universe keeps one final secret, the bridge between the infinitely large and the infinitely small. And perhaps you think that mystery is not meant to be solved, but felt. You float once more through the curved space near a massive cluster. The light from distant galaxies bends around it, a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. You see how gravity distorts the path of photons, creating arcs and halos. It is beautiful, this bending like light bowing in reverence. Even memory, itself light, must follow the curves that gravity draws. You realize that every telescope's image of the deep universe is a painting partly drawn by gravity itself. We see the cosmos through its lens, through its invisible geometry. The universe does not only exist, it composes itself, slowly, through attraction and curvature. And as you watch this great orchestration unfold, you feel something quiet rise in you. Gratitude, perhaps, or wonder, that in this infinite darkness there is order, that from emptiness there is form, that from falling there is flight. You drift closer to the black hole at the galactic center, again, not in fear, but in curiosity. You watch light spiral into its event horizon, bending, stretching, until it disappears. And yet, you remember what light taught you, that nothing truly vanishes. The gravity here does not erase, it transforms. The boundary where time slows to stillness is not an end, but a threshold. You feel the edge of it, that horizon of no return, and yet something in you remains calm. Because gravity, even here at its most intense, feels not cruel, but inevitable. A silence so deep that even light bows and becomes part of it. And perhaps you think that's what gravity really is, the universe's way of gathering what has scattered, bringing all things home. You drift away again, out of the dark, into the wide interstellar calm. You can feel the gentle balance of motion and pull in every direction, stars circling unseen centers, galaxies bound in invisible threads. Nothing escapes relationship. Everything moves together. The pull around you softens, like a deep breath released. You realize that gravity, for all its vastness, asks for only one thing: to remain connected. And as you surrender to that quiet thought, a new awareness stirs ahead, a subtle vibration, softer even than gravity's breath. Something that moves not through matter or curve, but through fabric itself, through time. You sense it before you name it, the rhythm of ages, the turning of cosmic clocks. You drift toward it, slow and weightless, as the universe's next lesson begins to unfold. You rest beneath a sky that has been turning long before you were born. There is no sound here, only the whisper of motion, so slow, so patient, that it feels like stillness. But you can sense it, the quiet drift of galaxies, the slow bending of light across distances so vast that even imagination struggles to reach. Time, in this space, is not a line. It is an ocean, wide and shimmering, rippling with unseen tides. You breathe. And as you breathe, the stars above you shift, just slightly. Their positions trace invisible arcs that your eyes cannot follow, but your soul feels them, the gentle rotation of the cosmos. You begin to understand that time is not something you travel through. It is something you float within. Each breath is a moment. Each heartbeat is a clock. And yet, the clocks of the universe run differently. A star may take 1,000,000 years to pulse once. A photon may exist for an instant, and yet cross eternity. To the universe, time stretches and folds like silk, depending on how close you stand to gravity's pull, or how fast you move through the dark. Einstein once whispered to the world that time is not absolute. It bends, it flexes, it flows differently for each observer. You feel this truth in your bones. You imagine yourself standing near a massive star, watching seconds turn sluggish and thick, as though moving through honey. Light bends around you, curving space like ripples around a stone. And as you step back, away from that gravity, the seconds loosen, dancing freely again. This is the rhythm of relativity, the breath of the universe itself. You close your eyes and picture it. Space and time are not separate things. They are threads woven together, a single fabric stretching endlessly in every direction. Every event, the birth of a star, the fall of a leaf, the pulse of your heart, ripples through this fabric, distorting it gently. You exist not in a place, not in a moment, but within the weaving itself. And the sky above, turning so slowly, is the universe reminding you that nothing truly stands still. In ancient times, humans looked at the heavens and told stories to understand these motions. They watched the constellations shift from season to season, marking harvest and winter, love and loss. Without knowing the equations, they could still feel the truth that everything changes, but in rhythm. The stars were not fixed points. They were dancers in an endless waltz of light. You think of Earth now, that small blue sphere spinning gracefully in its orbit. You imagine standing on its surface, watching shadows move, not realizing that this motion is the measure of time itself. Time is nothing more than movement, the Earth's rotation giving you day and night, its revolution giving you the years. The very turning of the sky is your heartbeat writ large. And yet, beyond that rhythm lies a deeper stillness, the cosmic clock that ticks in centuries, eons, epochs. Galaxies collide and merge. Black holes spin slowly, swallowing centuries in a single spiral. Time there is not measured by seconds, but by the blooming and fading of entire civilizations of stars. In such scales, your life, every thought, every heartbeat, is the flicker of a candle in a cathedral of suns. But even a flicker matters. You are made of moments, but moments made of atoms that once belonged to stars. Those atoms waited billions of years before finding each other in you. Their journey through the birth of galaxies, through supernova, through drifting cosmic dust, is written into your pulse. So when you feel time rushing, remember, you are already part of eternity. Every second you experience carries the memory of the universe's creation. There is something soothing in that, to know that even in your smallest acts, you echo the cosmos. When you breathe, it is a slow turning to lungs, expanding and contracting like galaxies breathing in the dark. When you sleep, your mind drifts through dreams that move slower than thoughts, slower than sound, a reflection of how the universe rests between pulses of creation. You begin to sense that time has textures. There are fast moments, laughter, falling, realization, and slow ones, waiting, growing, becoming. Each texture teaches something about being alive. Fast time is the fire, slow time is the soil, and together they make life possible. In the silence of your thoughts, you imagine walking through time as though it were a landscape. Around you are dunes of memory, valleys of possibility, and rivers of moments yet to come. Each step you take leaves a mark not on the ground, but in the flow itself, small ripples that travel outward, and perhaps somewhere far away, someone feels the echo of your steps in the rhythm of their own life. This is how the universe connects, not just through space, but through time's resonance. Every action, every thought, leaves a trace in the continuum. It does not vanish, it vibrates softly in the cosmic fabric. And so, nothing is ever truly lost. Even forgotten dreams still shimmer faintly in the quiet folds of time. You open your eyes again, and the stars seem to shimmer differently, not as distant fires, but as memories of light, messages from the past. Each photon that touches your eye began its journey long ago, perhaps before Earth even existed. You are, in this moment, seeing history. Looking up is looking backward. You stand under the night sky, not just as a watcher, but as a receiver of ancient news. There's wonder in realizing that the light of a dying star can still travel for millions of years, outliving the star itself. It means that endings are not abrupt. They echo. Time, then, is not a wall, but an ocean where waves of light keep moving long after their source is gone. You find peace in that beauty can outlast its beginning. The more you watch, the more you feel it. The slow turning of the sky is not something happening outside you. It is happening through you. Your cells mark its rhythm. Your thoughts drift with its pace. When you let go of hurry, you align with it. You become a quiet witness to the way existence unfolds. Slow, elegant, inevitable. In this stillness, you notice something subtle. Not all time moves the same way. To a mayfly, a single day is a lifetime. To a star, a billion years is a heartbeat. Perspective bends time as much as gravity does. So, perhaps the universe teaches patience by showing you scales beyond your reach. You do not need to see the end of everything. You only need to be part of its unfolding. You begin to feel the peace of cosmic patience, that the sky will turn whether you rush or rest. That change does not need to be forced. It happens naturally, like seasons in the soul. Even stars, those burning hearts of the heavens, are patient. They take millions of years to form, millions to live, and millions more to fade. And yet, they never doubt their becoming. You breathe again, slower this time. You sense the Earth's rotation beneath you, though you cannot feel it directly. You are spinning through space at 1,000 miles an hour, yet it feels perfectly still. That paradox of stillness within motion is the essence of peace. To move endlessly, yet feel grounded. To exist within time, yet not be trapped by it. The longer you stay in this awareness, the more you understand why ancient astronomers called the heavens the great clock. Not a clock of numbers, but of harmony. Everything turning, orbiting, spiraling, not for purpose, but for balance. And within that balance, you find meaning. The stars do not hurry, yet everything happens on time. A meteor streaks across your imagination, a brief flare, a burning second that dissolves into nothingness. But even that briefness feels whole. It is not the length of a moment that gives it value. It is the depth of presence within it. When you watch the slow turning of the sky, you begin to live like the stars, aware, luminous, and unhurried. You begin to hear the faint murmur of something else, a new rhythm emerging beneath the stillness. It sounds like a breath, slow and vast, as though the universe itself is exhaling, preparing to begin again. You feel it move through you, a promise of renewal. The stars turn, the planets spin, and somewhere unseen, a world inhales its first air. Time continues its slow, graceful arc, and you, still lying beneath the sky, understand the story of existence is not ending. It is merely turning its next page. You rest within the hush that follows creation. The stars have formed. The galaxies have spun themselves into shape, and time has begun its patient turning. Yet, in the great quiet, there is a new movement, softer than light, subtler than gravity. It is the universe's first breath. At first, it is invisible. No lungs, no voice, only the faintest shimmer across the stillness. Gas, dust, and radiation swirl together in a dance too delicate to name. Hydrogen and helium, cooled by time and pulled by gravity, settle into the cradles of young worlds. The smallest particles begin to cling to each other, drawn by unseen hands, and from those tiny unions, whispers of air are born. You imagine yourself standing on the surface of one of these newborn worlds. It is not yet the blue planet, you know. It is raw, red, molten, trembling. Volcanoes rise and fall like slow breaths, exhaling gases into the thin nothing above. The sky is thick with carbon dioxide, nitrogen, steam, a mist of possibilities, a memory of stars dissolving into the air. You can feel the planet trying to breathe. Each eruption, each crack in the crust, releases a sigh. Carbon that once slept inside rock now stretches into the sky. Steam cools, condenses, and falls as rain, the first whisper of oceans waiting to be born. And when the droplets touch the hot earth, they hiss like music, a lullaby between fire and water. You listen closely. The air is rough, heavy, restless, but hidden within it is something extraordinary, potential. The molecules drifting here, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, will one day become you. Every breath you take now was forged in that ancient exhalation. The sky above you is your ancestor. The planet's breathing deepens with time. Thunder rolls across continents that do not yet have names. Lightning crackles through clouds, striking pools of minerals, and with each strike, something miraculous happens. Atoms link, separate, relink again. Experimenting with form, seeking the rhythm of life. It is chemistry, learning to sing. The universe has always known harmony, but here, for the first time, it becomes melody. Molecules forming chains that remember, that react, that can change and repeat themselves. These are the first notes of biology, and they hum faintly in the still air. You close your eyes and imagine that hum vibrating softly beneath your heartbeat. It is not sound, it is pattern, a subtle order weaving through chaos. Like breath finding rhythm after birth, and so, the atmosphere, the thin film of gases encircling a planet, becomes the first stage of life's theater. It is fragile, transparent, and yet everything depends on it. You breathe now, and you breathe the echo of those primordial winds. Your lungs are instruments shaped by that same chemistry, their purpose, to continue the ancient rhythm of exchange, to inhale the memory of creation and exhale continuation. Every breath you take is a message. The earth is still breathing through you. You walk slowly through this imagined young world. The oceans begin to cool, their surfaces steaming with the residue of forming skies. Gases dissolve into the waters, where sunlight, a gift from the nearest star, begins to stir something quiet and impossible. Photons strike molecules, awakening energy, and chemistry begins to dream of life. At first, it is only a whisper, a pattern of reactions, replicating, breaking, repeating, like ripples forming on a pond with no wind. But repetition is a kind of heartbeat, and soon the world's first pulse begins. You can almost feel it, a vibration beneath the still surface, as though the planet itself is inhaling for the first time. The sky clears slightly. Light touches the surface and stays longer. The air begins to find balance between chaos and calm. The breath deepens. Eons pass in moments of your mind. The thick, poisonous gases slowly give way to gentler compositions. Oxygen, once a rare and reactive guest, becomes a regular presence, a collaborator in the great experiment of being. Cyanobacteria, tiny architects of breath, rise within the oceans, gathering sunlight and turning it into air. Their work is invisible but infinite. Through photosynthesis, that patient alchemy of light and life, the planet learns to breathe cleanly. The sky transforms from rust to blue. The oceans, once green and murky, deepen into sapphire. And in this exchange between sea and air, the cycle of respiration, the balance of inhale and exhale, becomes eternal. You feel a kinship with this transformation. Your own lungs, to mirror the planet's process. Each inhalation draws in oxygen born from ancient cyanobacteria. Each exhalation returns carbon dioxide, a gift for plants, oceans, and everything that shares this endless rhythm. In every breath, you participate in a cosmic conversation. Even stars breathe in their way, expanding and contracting, their cores pulsing with fusion's rhythm. Their breath, though fiery, gives birth to the elements that make air possible. Iron, carbon, oxygen, all born from stellar lungs. The universe, it seems, was always destined to breathe through you. You pause, sensing that truth in your chest. The boundary between you and the world softens. You are not separate from the air you inhale. You are made from it, sustained by it, return to it with every breath. Breathing is not something you do. It is something you are. You lie down again, imagining the atmosphere as a blanket, thin but immense, draped gently around the planet's shoulders. Its layers glow faintly, each one filtering sunlight, scattering blue, carrying sound, weather, and scent. It is transparent, yet full of life. It allows the world to speak softly to itself. In the deep calm of night, you realize that every sound you have ever heard, wind, laughter, rain, exists only because of this breath. Air carries meaning. Without it, even silence would have no form. You think of the word inspiration, to inhale, to fill oneself with air, but also with wonder. To breathe in the world is to understand it intimately. You cannot separate learning from breathing, because both are acts of connection. And so, as the earth finds its balance, as skies clear and seas settle, the planet becomes a great, breathing organism. Clouds rise, rain falls, rivers carve paths, each motion a sigh in the planet's long exhalation. You realize that even now, the world is never truly still. It is always breathing, always alive. In this understanding, a profound peace unfolds. You are part of the planet's respiration, your lungs an extension of forests and oceans. When you breathe in, the trees breathe out. When you breathe out, they breathe in. You exist in the middle of that exchange, a note within the planet's song of balance. And as this realization settles, you feel the rhythm of your own breath slow, deepen. Each inhale expands not just your chest, but your awareness. Each exhale releases not just air, but weight. Breathing becomes a meditation, a return to your first connection with the cosmos. The universe is vast, yet its first true act of tenderness was to create air, to give shape to the invisible, to let matter learn how to whisper, sigh, and sing. The breath of worlds is not just an event, it is an invitation to feel, to listen, to be part of something that began before words, before thought, before sound, in this moment. As you rest beneath the sky, you realize that the entire cosmos breathes with you. Stars inhale hydrogen and exhale light. Planets inhale silence and exhale weather. Life inhales possibility and exhales memory. And you, small, infinite, you inhale the universe and exhale gratitude. The first breath never ended. It only changed form, moving through eons, through atoms, through lives. It is still moving now, through the wind outside, through the tide that rises and falls, through your own quiet chest. You exhale softly, and in that breath is everything, the story of fire, water, air, and life. The universe sighs with you, and together you continue the rhythm that began in the breath of worlds.